Alan Ruiz was a decorated Border Patrol officer. Carla Vega was his trusted colleague. But when gunfire erupted at the Texas Border Patrol station, one lay dead and the other vanished. What began as a mysterious shooting unraveled into a web of betrayal, smuggling, and a deep-rooted conspiracy that reached far beyond the border. The morning of April 3rd began like any other at the Del Rio Border Patrol station in Texas. The sun had just begun to rise, casting a golden hue over the dry desert terrain. Officers arrived in shifts, some sipping coffee, others running routine checks on patrol vehicles. Inside the station, quiet conversations floated through the air as schedules were updated and assignments given. At 6:42 a.m., the stillness shattered. A rapid series of gunshots echoed across the compound. Panic erupted. Officers scrambled for cover, alarms blared, and calls flooded the internal communication lines. Windows cracked and glass sprayed across the tile floors as bullets tore through the eastern side of the building. Within the first minute, chaos took over. Everyone assumed it was an external ambush, possibly cartel-related. The station, located just 15 miles from the border, had seen its share of skirmishes, but never anything this organized or targeted. The shots were precise, not random. Surveillance equipment and communication hubs seemed to be the main focus. As some officers returned fire toward the desert perimeter, others attempted to locate the shooter on the station's monitors. But the feed had gone dark moments before the attack. 3 minutes in, the gunfire stopped as suddenly as it began. A chilling silence followed, broken only by the crackle of damaged radios and the hurried footsteps of agents moving through the station. A team conducting a sweep found Officer Alan Ruiz lying near the back exit. A single bullet wound marked his temple. His sidearm remained holstered. Nearby, a utility door stood slightly ajar, indicating the shooter had entered and exited without resistance. What stunned investigators more was the absence of forced entry. Initial searches turned up nothing: no shooter, no getaway vehicle, and no reliable witnesses. Most officers had been inside when the shots were fired, and those on the perimeter saw only brief flashes. The shooter had vanished without a trace. However, a troubling discovery followed shortly after. Several hard drives were missing from the surveillance room data that logged movement, patrol logs, and camera footage for the past 2 weeks. It wasn't just a shooting. It was a targeted attack meant to erase something. The entire compound went into lockdown. By noon, Homeland Security and the FBI had arrived, turning the site into an active crime scene. Whatever had happened that morning was bigger than anyone had imagined. The investigation began with urgency and confusion. Every angle of the compound was examined, but there were no signs of broken locks, shattered doors, or forced windows. The building's internal security system, normally airtight, had inexplicably gone offline 3 minutes before the first shot. Forensics teams found no fingerprints, no DNA, and no shell casings inside the building. Whoever had carried out the attack had either known exactly what they were doing or had help from the inside. Attention quickly turned to Officer Alan Ruiz, the only fatality in the shooting. He was well respected, quiet, and known for his meticulous patrol logs. A review of his recent activity revealed something unusual. Over the past 2 weeks, Ruiz had made multiple unscheduled visits to remote sections of the desert border without reporting them through official channels. When questioned, his supervisor admitted that Ruiz had recently filed a confidential report. That report, now retrieved, described suspected illegal activity involving personnel at the station. Ruiz had noted altered patrol routes, falsified vehicle logs, and unusual patterns of movement during night shifts. Most of his claims had been dismissed as speculation at the time, but in light of the shooting, they took on a far more sinister tone. When officers searched Ruiz's personal vehicle, parked a short distance from the regular staff lot, they found a hidden compartment inside the glove box. Inside was a black flash drive labeled simply, "Do not trust anyone." The flash drive contained several grainy photos. In them, men wearing Border Patrol uniforms were seen at night meeting with others near a dry ravine. They appeared to be unloading crates from unmarked SUVs. The images were time-stamped just 5 days before the shooting. Additionally, the drive held a file listing serial numbers of surveillance cameras marked as disabled in the system logs, each corresponding to the area where Ruiz claimed illicit activity had occurred. Agents now suspected that Ruiz may have discovered a smuggling operation, possibly involving his own colleagues. If true, The attacker hadn't just come to kill him, they had come to erase everything he had gathered. But the deeper investigators looked, the more questions they uncovered. The station's own digital records had gaps, showing edits made remotely by someone with high-level administrative clearance. The shooter's clean escape no longer looked like a lucky break. It looked like an inside job. As federal investigators widened their search, attention turned to the station's personnel files. Shift records from the week of the shooting revealed a suspicious change. Officer Carla Vega, a senior agent with 6 years of clean service, had suddenly returned from approved leave to work the same overnight shift Ruiz had originally been assigned. The reason for the swap was not documented, and her digital approval request had been submitted from an IP address that traced back to a public Wi-Fi hotspot rather than her home. The security team flagged this immediately. When agents attempted to contact Vega for questioning, she was nowhere to be found. Her government-issued phone had been powered off since the morning of the attack. A visit to her apartment revealed signs of a rushed departure. Clothes were missing, food left on the counter, and a half-packed suitcase discarded in the closet. More alarming was what had been left behind. Hidden in a locked drawer was a burner phone, several bank slips showing deposits from an account based in Guadalajara, and a printed station blueprint with red markings over the surveillance room and eastern exit exactly where the attack had been focused.